But what we came up with is after we implemented those little things like the telephone CPR, the change in the way we did our own cardiac arrest methods, and then also the AEDs in the cop cars, our survivability in 2025 jumped to about 47%.
Wow.
So just making those few changes, you're just shy of half, 50% chance of surviving a cardiac arrest in the city of McKinney.
Wow.
So if we amplify that by involving the community, I'm hoping to see even higher numbers.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to another great episode of the McKinney Momentum Podcast. I'm Luke Gajary, the Marketing and Social Media Manager here for the McKinney EDC, and we have a special episode in store. I'm excited about this one because we're talking about some tangible ways that the city of McKinney overall and the fire department in McKinney is working to help increase the amount of lives that are saved. And I won't spoil the episode for you, but we're going to dive into some interesting statistics, some cool stories. And I'm joined by Battalion Chief Ben Jones from the McKinney Fire Department. Ben, thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and be able to talk about this topic that we're pretty passionate about.
Yeah, you recently shared with our board, the Economic Development Board, about some of these initiatives, and you've got this cool device on the table that I'm sure we'll get into. But I want to kick things off and just kind of get to know Ben a little bit. Can you tell me your story, how you landed in the McKinney Fire Department and what led you to this point?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up in Provo, Utah.
Okay.
And I ended up down here in Texas, met my wife down here, came looking for some better opportunities to become a fireman. I have a brother who's a fireman, and he introduced me to the trade. And so I went to fire school up there, and when I came down here to Texas, I noticed that opportunities were a lot more opportunities to get hired. And so I ended up testing, and I was fortunate enough to get hired on with McKinney, and just hit my 20-year anniversary. And so that's pretty. It's a monumental moment because now I'm eligible for retirement.
That's right, man. I hope you don't retire too soon because we got some work to do here that you've already kicked off. Yeah.
Yes,
so Provo, Utah, you trained there, and then McKinney was your first fire department, kind of in the suburbs. How is that different than what you were doing in Utah? Was more of like a wildland firefighting, is that correct?
Yep. So right out of high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. So my brother said, hey, why don't you go be a wildland firefighter?
Yeah.
You take 1 or 2 courses, you pass a little PAC test, and man, you're on the ground running. And so for a kid who didn't really know what he wanted to do, it was a great opportunity to get introduced to the industry. Where we're fighting more fires out in the mountains, in the hills,
brush fires, forest fires, things like that. Okay.
Yeah, and so I worked for an agency out there on a hand crew.
Okay.
You got 22 people, and they said, "Hey, we like you. You're a big burly guy. We're going to give you a chainsaw."
Okay.
So they gave me a chainsaw for a couple seasons, and while I was doing that, I was introduced to a lot of guys on the hand crew were structure firefighters.
Oh,
and they said, "Hey, why don't you join the structure world? It's so much better." And so when I finished that season, I was able to go to fire school and got my certifications, and then ended up down here in Texas, and eventually met my wife from here. And so 24 years later, here I am, and 3 kids and a mortgage. So.
Yeah. So you came for the Texas girl, stayed for the fire department. This is awesome.
Yep.
So, or maybe I have that backwards. You came for the fire department, stayed for the Texas girl? Either way?
More so, yes. We're going to give her all the credit.
Sure.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep.
Well, we're glad you're here. You're
Thanks.
doing some awesome work. It's a cool... I love the story of in high school, there's all this pressure to not figure out what you're going to do next. And so many of us don't know, and we kind of stumble into careers, and to figure out you've really made something of yourself is a cool story. And I know you're a pillar in our fire department, so we're thankful.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a great journey.
Yeah.
Met some wonderful people, some of my very best friends, and had some really great experiences. And to be able to watch McKinney grow over the last 20 years has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And just to see where we were and where we are today, it's really a blessing to see where this department's heading in the next 20 years.
Yeah, I can't imagine seeing the 20 years. I've been here 4, so seeing that has been a lot. But then 20 years going from more cows than people to now what it is today, it's unbelievable.
When I was first hired, I was our city administration building was a little 2-story house over on the east side of town.
Wow.
And I remember going downstairs in the basement, and Chief Howard handed me my bunker gear out of a box next to the water heater.
Wow.
And now we've got this big, beautiful fire administration building.
Brand new.
Man, it is state-of-the-art everything, and it's something that we can really be proud of. So.
Yeah. Well, and you said state of the art. I think that ties into what we're going to talk about today because you talked about this AED program. And when you say AED, I think of like a mini fridge looking box that mounts on the wall like this big and it's complicated. It's got these wires and these paddles. And I know they're crucial in saving lives, but just as an average Joe, I didn't really understand the evolution of technology. So when you started talking about some of the initiatives you've been under and some of the things you've learned in this journey, I'd love to can you just unpack for our listeners what this little box you brought with us is? There's no way this is replacing that mini fridge on the wall, and kind of what we're leaning into here as a city.
Yeah. So first of all, when someone has a cardiac arrest, there's two parts to the heart. We've got the electrical side and the mechanical side of the heart. And so what we're trying to do is jumpstart, if you will, the electrical side of the heart. So if someone has a cardiac arrest and the heart rhythm, it gets off.
Yeah.
And so it starts beating funky. And so what we try to do is just try to shock it to say, hey, get back in line, start beating the way you're supposed to. And so science has proven that the quicker somebody can have an electric shock to the heart, the better chance of survival they have during a cardiac arrest.
Okay.
And so what technology has brought, this mini fridge that you're talking about, is it's the old style of AEDs. And, and it was the only style that the FDA had approved for a very long time. And then a company comes along called Vive, and that's the company we've partnered with. And they've created these AEDs that, I mean, they're just a little bit bigger than a cell phone.
Yeah, wow.
Basically, the way they describe it is it's a cell phone on top with the AED on the back.
Okay.
And so what this AED...
So this literally does replace that whole box that we've
does.
seen in the movies with the paddles and all that. This does that.
Yeah,
And remind me, sorry, AED stands for?
An automated external defibrillator.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so our goal is to defibrillate the heart
Yeah.
from the outside.
Shock it back into rhythm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what this allows is the screen on the front allows you to, it walks you through where to put the pads, how to do it. It analyzes the heart rhythm, and then it will deliver a shock based on the current rhythm of the heart. And if it's a rhythm that's what we call shockable, then it's going to shock it. You don't have to push a button. What they found is those old style AEDs, people were real hesitant. If I push this button, am I going to get shocked?
Right, right.
This one just tells you, stand back, shock's coming. And so
It does it for you. And so if I were experiencing a cardiac arrest right now, you would pull this, the paddles would come out, you would attach them to me, and then the screen would walk you through exactly what to do.
100%. And
That's crazy.
the great thing about it is it's fireman proof. So it's got pictures.
Nice. Yeah.
It's
Fireman and marketing guy
There
proof.
you
Yeah,
go.
you need pictures.
It's all just pictures. And it shows you an anatomical picture of a body, and it tells you where to put the pads. And then it says analyzing the rhythm, and it walks you through the process.
Wow.
And then once it's there, you don't have to do anything. You just start compressions, and then it'll tell you to stop. It has a built-in metronome because you want to do compressions at a certain rate. What they found is oftentimes people don't go deep enough on compressions, and they go too slow.
Oh,
And
right.
so it actually has a metronome that just keeps that beat. And if you just do your compressions based on the beat, then you know that you're doing what science has proven to be the most effective.
Yeah. So I watch The Office. There's
Yes.
an episode in there, Training Day, Safety Day,
Yep.
where they do Staying Alive, and the instructor is teaching people. I've seen statistics about how that episode has saved lives
Great
because
show.
people understand the rhythm and the timing. But I don't even need to remember Staying Alive. If I'm using this, it's clicking for me, telling me the pace. That's crazy.
Yeah, the other great thing about these is they're all tied into one network.
Okay.
And so I can...
That's where the cell phone part comes in.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
And so I can sit in my office and I can pull up a dashboard and I can see every one of these that's on our network.
Wow.
And all throughout the city. So we've replaced all the ones through the Parks Department. We've put 80 AEDs in cop cars.
No way.
Every one of our fire department vehicles has an AED in it. And so I can see across the city the status of every one of them. I'm talking the pads when they expire. I can see the battery life. I can see the connectivity. Even if one happens to grow legs and walk away from where it lives, which has happened,
Oh, sure,
I'm able to reach out to our buddies over the police department and show them where it's living, and they will go retrieve it for us. And so These are pretty incredible machines.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're as small as they are and the ability to carry them around like you can, that's our goal, is to just get them on scene quick.
So where did that come from? Where did you start to realize that we needed to make these more, we need to have more of these, we need to make them more accessible, we need to put them in cop cars? How did you guys decide to start, for lack of a better phrase, like beef up this program?
So I'm going to be a little vulnerable, expose a little bit of our dark secrets in the fire department. We started looking at numbers, and we realized in the McKinney Fire Department, our cardiac arrest saves for somebody in a shockable rhythm was not very good.
Wow.
And so we started doing a little internal look and saying, how can we get better at this? And the standard comes from a place called the Resuscitation Academy up in Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
And they do a lot of research. They do a lot of look at data, and they establish some best practices of performing CPR and what that takes. And between them and the American Heart Association, they've created what's called the chain of survival.
Okay.
And has everything to do with the initial phone call to 911.
Okay.
Well, the first person you're going to talk to is a dispatcher. So we went to our dispatchers and we trained them on giving what's called telephone CPR, or TCPR. So how to get the person on a hard surface, get them on a floor, get them off the bed, and walk somebody through that. Now, tell them where to place your hands. Now, dispatchers are using metronomes in the dispatch center to walk them through.
Wow.
Do your compressions on my count.
Exact
1
timing.
and 2 and 3 and 4.
Wow.
And so they're doing that. So our initial CPR is getting better. The next step that we had to do, we had to realize that ourselves, the fire department, had to do a better job at performing CPR. So again, science and data has proven that time off the chest is detrimental. And so how can we go through a process of performing CPR and minimize our downtime from doing compressions? So we implemented what's called it's a pit stop maneuver. Everybody on scene has a role. And when it's time to rotate, everybody rotates in unison and different roles and responsibilities. So we minimize the time off the chest.
Like a pit crew at a NASCAR race.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're changing tires and pumping on hearts.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy. Wow, I love that.
And so the next step that we had control over was we recognized, how can we get an AED on scene quicker? Well, something we have control over is our response times. And so we know that the police department is out there all day, every day on the streets.
Yeah.
So they're usually on scene first. So let's get AEDs in their hands. And so we went and worked with the police department, and we were able to put 80 AEDs in cop cars.
Wow.
And so now they've got them. Now they need some training. So we showed up to all their morning briefings, all their afternoon briefings, and we trained them all how to do CPR.
Wow.
And then we showed them how this machine works. So when they show up on scene, they are not just there to block traffic. They're there to jump in and help. And I believe in 2025 we had, I want to say, 7 deployments of AEDs from our police officers.
Wow.
So they're getting there first and still in our glory. But it's all for the betterment of the outcome of the patient.
Right. Wow. And the accessibility, you mentioned at the beginning, the likelihood of survivalhood goes down the more time that passes. Are there any specific numbers associated with that, or what are my chances per minute that passes without?
So science has shown that every minute you go without defibrillation and CPR, you lose about 10% chance of survivability.
Okay, so cardiac arrest happens. From that moment, for every minute that happens without paddles on my chest, I'm losing 10%. So 7 minutes go by, that gives me a 30% chance of survival.
Correct.
Approximately.
So by the time the call is made to dispatch, from the time the dispatch routes that call to the fire department, to the time we get to the rigs, hit the road, fight traffic, arrive on scene, we're averaging about 7 minutes.
Wow.
And so the individual already has less than a 30% chance of survival. So if we can get an AED on someone within 2 or 3 minutes, now your chances skyrocket to 70, 80% chance of survival.
Wow.
And so that's part of this whole initiative. So we helped our dispatchers with the initial call. Now we go to the next chain. How are we going to get an AED on scene quicker? And so police department, right off the bat, they were able to be there within 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the next step is how can we get these AEDs even quicker? And so that's where we came up with this Neighborhood Heroes program. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't an original idea. It's an idea from this company called a 4-Minute City.
Yeah.
And their goal is to get an AED within 4 minutes of everyone within the city. No matter where you are, you're 4 minutes from an AED.
Which is giving you a 60% chance of survival, better than average.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we conducted some studies and looked at some data and our run numbers, and what we found is we need to find about 400 people across the city who are trained, or want to be trained, and who are qualified to carry an AED. And so we're collecting names and people of interest who want to have an AED, and then what they'll do is they'll come to the fire department on a designated time, and we'll provide that training, and we will issue them an AED, and they can take that AED home with them to reside in their home.
Wow.
If you've got a soccer game, throw it in your bag and take it with you. If your family's going on vacation, take it with you, because you never know when an emergency is going to happen and you're around and you have the ability to step in and help. You know, we're so fortunate here in McKinney.
Yeah.
We've been blessed with financial benefits, and we've got the infrastructure in place. And more importantly, though, we've got people who want to help.
Yeah.
And so how can we help those people help others?
Yeah.
And so that's our goal, is to get AEDs in hands of community members who are willing to step in and help.
Yeah, I've seen news snippets of that 4-Minute City. I think there was a presentation you gave about it at a city council meeting. And man, so you go to Seattle and you get these layers that you're adding to make this more effective. What was our rate, the average survivability rate before this initiative, which was what, 2023, 24? When did you all go up and
About 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, we were about 1 in 10.
Wow.
So you had about a 10% chance of survival if you had a shockable rhythm.
Wow.
So again, being a little vulnerable, throwing those numbers out there.
Yeah.
But what we came up with is, after we implemented those little things like the telephone CPR, the change in the way we did our own cardiac arrest methods, and then also the AEDs in the cop cars, our survivability in 2025 jumped to about 47%.
Wow.
So just making those few changes, you're just shy of half, 50% chance of surviving now a cardiac arrest in the city of McKinney.
Wow.
So if we amplify that by involving the community, I'm hoping to see even higher numbers going forward.
That's crazy. And so even just a year, so you've started little steps, low-hanging fruit. I mean, obviously there's a cost to these devices, so you have sponsorships and donations to, secure these for the neighborhood heroes. But just the more of these we can get in the trunks of cars, or like you said, the duffel bags at soccer fields, the chances just will continue to go up and up of survivability of these cardiac arrests.
Absolutely.
So tell me some stories. Tell me about some of these folks. There has to be some stories behind these numbers, because I can't imagine that increase not having some significant impact in the community.
Absolutely. So that's the best part about this whole journey over the last 2 years. Big lift, a lot of work, a lot of networking, a lot of conversations. But at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about somebody being able to spend one more Christmas with their family, one more birthday, having your loved ones still there. And so we started hosting what we call a Phoenix event. And in 2025, we had 12 cardiac arrest survivors. And so the first cardiac arrest Phoenix event that we held, we was in June. We honored 6 of these guys. From January to June of last year, 6 people were recognized. We brought them back. These are survivors.
Yeah.
These are people who had an event and at one point were clinically dead.
Yeah.
And we were able to step in and provide an opportunity for them to have another stretch of time with their loved ones. Recently, probably one of the more talked about ones involved the police department. We had a situation where a gentleman and his son were driving through McKinney. They don't even live here. They're driving through, and they're at the KFC over off of 380.
Okay.
And a call comes in. My dad's in cardiac arrest.
Wow.
Dispatch gets them to pull him out of the passenger seat, gets him on the concrete, and starts compressions.
So there's that first step, the training for the dispatchers to start walking them through, keeping the time for them, all of that.
Yep.
Boom. Okay.
Well, and then first on scene, it just happens to be 2 police officers. So 2 officers show up. They both pull out their AEDs and go sit down. and they start working this individual. One excuses the sun, starts the chest compressions. The other one pulls out the AED, and you see him looking through watching the monitor, make sure he's putting the pads where they need to go. And they actually shock this individual a number of times until the fire department gets there. Fire department shows up, they get the report of what happened, they start working him, they get him in the ambulance. They're able to take him over here to Baylor McKinney, and they are able to get him stabilized. They transfer him down to Baylor Heart down in Plano, where he has a procedure done, and he is alive and well, and he was recognized in February, part of our second batch of Phoenix survivors.
That's crazy.
And so one of the things we do at this Phoenix event is we invite the dispatchers and the police officers and the fire department to come be a part of it. And we create these coins, and on one side it has a phoenix, and it's got the date of the event.
Wow.
And the individual's name, and on the other side it's our McKinney Fire Department logo. And we give this coin to every one of the survivors.
Wow. Do you mind if I see that?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
We give it to every one of the survivors, and we give it to those who are who helped save that life as a little memento of the event that took place.
And a life that literally would have been extinguished if it were not for these efforts.
Right.
That's unbelievable. And they're driving through McKinney. They don't even live here, but they will never forget what happened in our community because of the efforts you're making. That's unbelievable.
I was talking to Jim, and he made the comment that the gentleman at the KFC, and he said that if I wasn't driving through Texas at that time, then I wouldn't have had the experience that I did.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be there with his family. And so he gets the added benefit of another day with his loved ones.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw something like this in the news in regards to like a celebrity. I love the Breaking Bad show and the cinematic universe, Better Call Saul.
Right.
So in 2020, they're filming Better Call Saul, and Saul Goodman, what's the guy's name? It just totally escaped. The guy who plays Saul Goodman, it'll come back to me. He had a cardiac arrest on set, and there was no AEDs in the set, in the facility at all. Mm-hmm. So they are freaking out. Someone's trying to do CPR on him. They call 911, and they're realizing that this man is dying in our studio. And so one of the production assistants runs out to her car. She had one of these in her car, but it was all the way across the lot. And she ends up bringing it back, gets a golf cart, saves his life using this. And now that caused kind of a sweeping movement through Hollywood, much like what you're doing here, of going, hey, we need these everywhere because you never know when something's going to happen. And, it's something that you need to be prepared for. And the more prepared we can be, the more of these we can deploy, the chances of survival goes up, 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 up. So that story of Jim and just the right place, right time, that he was in a city that's working towards becoming a 4-minute city is remarkable. And I'm sure you have, you said you've given out a couple of these challenge coins already and had a few of these events. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's so moving to be at these events and to hear loved ones stand up and just with tears in their eyes, streaming down their cheeks, say thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
We don't get into this profession to be the hero, for the accolades. What we do is we want to get in and make a difference. We want to be a part of something that is changing a life. Mm-hmm. And this is just a prime opportunity for us to really impact the citizens at a level that is hardly been done before.
Yeah.
So it's really been a great undertaking, but we still have a little ways to go. Got some more work to do to get there. It's going to be a lot to keep it going.
Yeah.
But it's all worth it if we just save just one life.
Yeah, that's right. So I know that you're putting a lot of infrastructure behind this as far as neighborhood heroes. And there's a couple of ways. I just want to make it clear for our audience that watches that goes, I want to get involved. Mm-hmm. Either I want to become a neighborhood hero, or I want to sponsor. Maybe I want to purchase one of these for the fire department, or I own a business in McKinney and I want to put one in the lobby of my building behind my reception desk or whatever. How would be, and we can put the links to all this stuff in the description of this episode, but what would be some of the best ways to get started on either of those paths to travel, whether it's a neighborhood hero, business owner, or sponsor?
So a couple different ways. Number one, let me just be clear. I don't care if you have an Avive AED or if you've got another brand. Mm-hmm. Just have an AED available.
That's good.
At the end of the day, that's what's most important. Mm-hmm. However, if you'd like an Avive AED, that's one that we can put on our network. We can keep it on our dashboard. It's the maintenance is so much easier that way.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't matter. Just have an AED.
Just have one,
available.
yeah.
Yep. Second of all, if you're interested in becoming a neighborhood hero, we've got some links that we can put up that allows you to go in and sign up. And it's going to ask you a couple simple questions. Can you get down on your knees? Can you lift 25 pounds? Are you willing to respond? I mean, we're just simple questions. Are you capable of doing this? And then if you are, then we'll reach out to you, and we have a running list of people. And as these AEDs become available, then we're looking at getting those out.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a business owner and you want an AED and you want to purchase one, reach out to the fire department. We've got a way of we've got an account that we can get you an AED at our price, which is very beneficial. And then it's your AED.
Yeah.
You own it, but it can be on our network
Right.
still, and so we can help manage that. But then the last one is if you want to donate.
Yeah.
Let's say, hey, look, I don't have a business, or maybe I do, but I don't. I just want to donate some money to this cause. Then we have an avenue of providing donations, and we're looking to purchase about another 200 of these AEDs, and we need to get. We're trying to raise some funds for that to help that become the reality of accomplishing this goal of making McKinney a 4-minute city.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. So what's the goal with the percentage? Because you mentioned post Seattle now 2 years later, we're 47% your chances of surviving across the board. What's the ultimate percent? I mean, obviously 100% would be the goal, but what's the realistic kind of like, if we're a 4-minute city, this becomes our new percentage?
So to put things in perspective, we were at 10%.
Sure.
National average is a little over 30%.
Okay.
Seattle right now, Seattle Fire Department, they currently hold the highest statistics of survival, and that's at 50%.
Okay.
So we're knocking on that door.
Yeah.
It does fluctuate based on calls that we have, but our goal would be anything over that 50%.
Wow.
I remember coming back from that conference, and I looked at a couple of my colleagues, and I said, I want to beat Seattle. Yeah. And they looked at me and said, you're crazy. And I said, I might be crazy, but that's what I want. I want McKinney to be the poster child of cardiac arrest survivability. So anything over 50% is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I really think in a community like ours, I don't see why it's not reasonable.
We're already at 47 in 2 years, and firemen are not competitive at all, right?
So not at all.
2 reasons. We want to save more lives in McKinney, and we want to beat Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm on board with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, man, this is amazing. I just cannot. I mean, we could go on and on about these devices and the technology and the work you and your team are doing. I did just want to say, too, if I become a neighborhood hero, what does that mean? What is that commitment? Do I need to be like on call? What is it like if I've got one of these in the trunk of my car and I'm now on the network? What's the how does that process work? Once I've been trained as a neighborhood hero, how do I know if there's an event near me? What's the breakdown of that?
Yeah, so we have a process of, it's an app that we use that our dispatch actually sends out a notification if you're within a certain geographical area. And so if you're using that geofencing, if you're within the area of that cardiac arrest, you'll receive a notification. You have the ability to accept it or decline it. There's no obligation to respond. If I'm there with my family and I'm tied up and I don't want to sneak away, then I could just hit decline and I go about my business. There's no obligation to respond. However, if there's a cardiac arrest and you're trained and you're equipped to do it, I feel like the good hearts of the people here are going to be willing to step in and help. There's laws within the state of Texas, Good Samaritan law being one of those, that as long as you're there to do no harm and you're willing to help and you're trying to the best of your ability to help that individual, you're protected by those laws.
Yeah.
And so we want people to know that just because you sign up, you're not on call, you don't have to respond.
Yeah.
But if you're inclined and you're able to, you're talking 70 to 80% of all cardiac arrests happen in the home. They happen in neighborhoods. They don't happen at the Walmart or down on the square as often as you think.
Yeah, or the KFC parking lot.
Or the KFC parking lot.
Yeah.
They happen in neighborhoods. And so if you're sitting at home and you're watching the game and maybe one of your neighbors having a cardiac arrest, you're not going to know that that's taken place until the fire department shows up out front.
Yeah.
But if you're 3 or 4 houses down and you've got the ability to respond and be there, I mean, what a blessing that is for your neighbor.
Yeah. And you to be the immediate boots on the ground. Hey, maybe I can do all that I can do. Like this, I may or may not be able to save this life, but if I could deploy this, their chances go way up,
Mhm.
and I'm becoming a neighborhood hero.
Absolutely.
So, and I love that. That is so powerful. Just again, the work you guys are doing, how close you are already to that goal of 50% plus. And I'm so impressed with the work you and the team are doing. So we're behind you here at the EDC. The rest of the city's cheering you guys on, and we're here to make it as easy as possible to get us to that 4-minute city. So
Well,
thanks for taking the time to walk us through that
I
today.
appreciate it. There's been so much support. Our big goal is getting the word out. Businesses, individuals, it doesn't matter. You know, we found an initiative. City council's behind this initiative. Our fire chief's behind this initiative. The police department. And so it's just a great opportunity to get involved and really make a difference in someone's life if given the opportunity. So
Yeah.
I
Wow,
appreciate it.
that's amazing. Well, I'd like to end episodes with rapid fire questions. I think instead of that, 'cause for the sake of time, I want to keep the focus on the AEDs and not you. But I do want to ask you one question. So I was at Olive Garden with my family, which take it or leave it, Olive Garden. And the kid at the table next to me asked his grandfather who was eating with him, and I overheard him, and he said, "If you punch yourself in the leg and it hurts, are you weak or are you strong?" And that question has been bugging me for a few days. So I wanted to ask you that as we end the episode, kind of a lighthearted note.
Well, I've got a 12-year-old.
Okay.
And so I can see where this question's coming from. I see it as I can't ever show my kids weaknesses.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would definitely say if it hurts, you may know it hurts, but you better not let that kid know it hurts.
That's right.
Because then he's going to pounce on it.
Uh-huh.
So I would say if you tell them it hurts, I'd say you might be a little weak,
Mm-hmm.
but you definitely look them in the eyes and say, absolutely not. I'm as strong as an oak.
I love that. Okay. Good answer.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you again so much
Yep.
for being here. This has been so helpful. Listen, if you're watching this and you are just moved by these stories and moved by what the goal of becoming a 4-minute city looks like and want to get involved on some level, whether that's neighborhood hero, sponsorship, or deploying one in your business, we'd love to talk more. We put all the relevant links in the description of the video and get you ways to get connected with our fire department in this wonderful initiative. Like, follow, subscribe, and stay tuned for another great episode of McKinney Momentum.